All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sabrina Lyons, and I'm here with my
Piet-
colleagues.
Pietra Romano.
And Alfredo Benitez.
And we are Creeping Through the Glades, and it is a group focused on researching invasive species in Florida, specifically the Burmese python. So, if you don't know what the Burmese python looks like, here we have a photo of the infamous snake. We also have an audio clip from one of our group members that briefly describes some important biological and physiological characteristics about the Burmese python, found from an article published by the Everglades National Park Foundation.
The Burmese python is distinguished by its imposing size and characteristic appearance, which make it one of the most striking snakes in the world. They are a large, non-venomous snake species, well known for their ability to grow up to 23 feet in length and weigh 200 pounds. They also have a distinctive pattern of dark brown blotches down the back and sides. The blotches are variable in size and shape, and they are bordered in black. Their eyes have vertical slit-shaped pupils, giving them excellent night vision.
So I hope you caught one of those last characteristics, which is that they can reach up to 23 feet in length and can weigh over 200 pounds. This characteristic is one of the many reasons why this snake has become a massive problem in South Florida. So in its natural habitat of Southeast Asia, Burmese pythons are just another wild snake. However, because of the exotic pet trade, a business where exotic animals are taken from the wild and shipped to other countries, Burmese pythons became one of the most popular pets in the US in the 1980s and 90s. Now, when the Burmese pythons did indeed grow to this 23 feet in length, people who had them as pets realized that they could no longer take care of them. They didn't have a big enough terrarium for them. They didn't have the resources for them. So they resorted to the only solution that they knew, which was to release them into the wild. And this is where the problem began. Now that these pythons are loose in multiple counties across South Florida, they now have dangerous impacts on Florida's natural habitat and economy. So the National Wildlife Federation posted an article in 2024 giving some updates on the Burmese python situation, and they say that nobody knows how many Burmese pythons inhabit South Florida. What they do know is that more than 18,000 of them have been captured since the 1990s. As of 2021, the Burmese python is now an illegal species to have as a pet. They've become one of the most difficult species to control because they are well adapted to the tropical climate here in Florida, have no natural predators in the Everglades, and look very similar to other native snake species. With all these factors combined, their populations here in South Florida exploded. So as a result of that, the native wildlife in the Everglades is now finding themselves in the stomachs of these voracious eaters. Everything from endangered species such as wood storks and blue herons to even alligators and white-tailed deer have experienced a population decline. Beyond the environmental impacts, Burmese pythons are also a huge financial burden on Florida's government. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service made a flyer about the economic impact of these snakes in 2012, where they revealed that they spent over $6 million in that year alone just to look for solutions, which involve python traps, education programs, research projects to learn more about them, and much more. Now, of all the species that I mentioned, there's one that I would like to focus on in particular, and that is the American alligator. It's hard to believe that an American alligator, Florida's most iconic and one of its largest reptile species, has become victim to the Burmese pythons, but it's a sad reality. As you can see in this photo here, it's not a pretty sight to behold. Jacqueline Guzzi, a population ecologist, published an extensive research paper in 2023 all about Burmese python. And in it, she mentions how American alligators were, in fact, the most common species in the reptile taxa to be found, around 70 of them. We also have another audio recording here that shares some more disturbing statistics about what these Burmese pythons eat.
Researchers have estimated that in total, over 76 mammal, bird, and reptile groups have been found in the stomach of Burmese pythons. Rodents are the most prevalent item on the menu, around 45%. But the pythons sure do love the taste of birds, since it was discovered that birds were the most diverse food item, around 48 different species.
As you can tell, these pythons are not something we should be taking lightly anymore.
Right, like Sabrina said, this issue has gotten way out of hand. Imagine your grandchildren not being able to experience the beauty of the Everglades. Native species are already disappearing, and Burmese pythons are a big reason why. It's not just a wildlife problem, it's a crisis, a sustainability crisis. This ties directly to two UN Sustainable Development Goals. First, Goal 15, Life on Land, because we're talking about protecting ecosystems and preventing biodiversity loss. And also Goal 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, since invasive species are costing the state of Florida millions of dollars, according to the U.S. and Wildlife Service. So, with that in mind, our research question is How can we spread awareness for this growing issue with Burmese pythons and involve some of our peers on the NDC campus in these efforts?
So this ties to our thesis, which is the rapid growth of the Burmese python population threatens both Florida's ecosystems and economy. But through civilian action, these problems can be mitigated. But how can civilians participate in these actions? Do you have the answer, Pietra?
Well, I might have it, Sabrina, but when it comes to solutions, it might seem quite impossible to ever eliminate the pythons from Florida's ecosystem. This fixed mindset becomes even stronger due to the less than 1% chance of detection of the species with visual tools found in a study by Nafis, Mazzotti, and Reed in 2020, which is impacted by environmental conditions and especially temperature. Now, we have several studies being conducted to improve detection tools, facilitate the snake's identification and capture. Not only that, but to also spread awareness over this invasive species. All of those initiatives are joint efforts where several individuals as well as the community come together to address a common issue, saving our ecosystem. I would like to highlight two programs that encourage the population's participation on the python's removal, as well as brings awareness to the steps to take when encountering one of those small babies. One of them is the Florida Python Challenge, which is a 10-day-long competition that takes place every year in August. The competition does not require expertise in the hunt of those snakes, and rewards as well as initiatives are given to participants. In addition, we have a program called Don't Let It Loose by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and managed by the Invasive Species Action Network, who promotes responsible pet ownership. It shares information on invasive species, including how to identify and handle them, as well as educational videos for K through 6th grade students. Truly an amazing initiative that makes our population, from little kids to the elderly, participate, even if indirectly, on the never-ending challenge to remove those animals from the wild. This ties to our solutions, which we aim to raise awareness and show the community how to effectively stop or slow down the impact of this invasive species, and also provide a point of contact in case of Burmese python encounter, while also involving the people in events focused on removal of the Burmese pythons from the Everglades. With that, we can conclude that working together is one of the many possible solutions to the problems that this invasive species causes. Population awareness is crucial, therefore accelerating the removal by authorities or their extermination.
I totally agree, Pietra. If everyone does their part to contribute to this solution, then we will definitely see some changes. And if anyone's curious about where we got our evidence from, here are our references. And if you have any questions regarding Burmese pythons, or if you want to see more in-depth research on the programs Pietra mentioned, then you can let us know. And with that, thank you for listening.